Enough. So, welcome to the Adobe Analytics office hours. We have our champions available to answer any questions you might have. I am your moderator, Achaia Walton, and we have online three of our Adobe Analytics champions for 2022. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Let's go alphabetical. Huh?
First name or last name? Okay, that would be me. So hi everybody, I'm Christel Guidon. I work for Norton LifeLock. We're actually now called Gen Digital as of last week. And I manage Adobe Analytics for the company. So I specialize in a lot of admin stuff, implementation, and I hope I can help you with any questions that you have, or defer to Jason and Sarah.
I'll assume we're going by first name then, so I'll go ahead next. Hi everyone, my name is Jason Egan. I work with Search Discovery, an analytics consultancy. I've worked here for the last 9 years and have been in consulting for about the past 14 years and have been working with Adobe and on-the-chip technology for more than that, 17, 18 years probably, or something like that. Look forward to trying to answer your questions as best as possible.
Awesome. And I'm Sarah Owen, and I'm a teammate of Jason, so I also work at Search Discovery. And like Jason, and I think a lot of people have been working with Adobe Analytics like back in the Omniture days, so back when it was like green and gray. So yeah, I think like 10 plus, 12 plus, something in there, double digit plus years working with it. So it's been fun to kind of see like the whole analytics industry kind of blossom and grow. And it's been fun to watch Adobe move into all the new stuff that they're doing. So yeah, that's us. I'll turn it back over to you, Achaia.
Thank you. So the first question was, is this session recorded? Yes, I just dropped the link into the chat. You can find a recording of this session along with all of our Adobe Analytics user group events in that YouTube channel. So just stay tuned. Shortly, maybe a day or so, because it is a holiday week here in the US. So to have that video available in that YouTube channel. So that was our first question. Our second question. Hold on for a second.
I think I'm screen sharing. Can you guys see okay?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yes, sure can.
The question is, which has precedence, classification importer or classification rule builder? Because I recently discovered we have both classifying our campaign variable and certain data is missing. I'm thinking this may be why.
Okay, this is an awesome question, and I'm hoping the person who submitted it is on right now. So if you're on, can you put something in the chat, because we can make you a presenter, so you can tell us a little bit more, because we kind of have like an answer, as you see right here. We've kind of worked on some stuff, but we would love to chat with you more about what you're seeing and just hear from you. So I'll wait for a second and see. Awesome. Because it's a good question. So you should definitely own it and like raise your hand so we can talk to you. Wait a second, because sometimes it's hard to find the chat. Travis, you've got one in there. So I don't know if Jason, Christel, you can kind of start looking at that when I'm chatting about classifications.
Yeah.
Well,
not anything. No one
claiming
ownership yet.
Well, maybe the person that answered it is running late, but that's okay. We'll record it. So there's kind of two pieces to this question, like the precedence and missing data, or data that is maybe gone. And so the first part, I'll talk about missing data. So with classifications, once you upload them, they're there. And if you want to like just delete, you can always override it. So you can upload a different value. But if you're like, I just want that whole value gone and I don't want anything there are specific values to use. And here, there's going to be lots of links getting dropped into the chat. So here we go. Here's the chat link for removing, and I'll try to preface it so they make sense. So removing classification values is what I'll say. Oops, I can't type. Awesome. There we go. And so you have to send specific values like a tilde empty. If you want, there's like one cell. If you think about your classifications, I kind of think of it as an Excel. Like you have your key and then you have all like your metadata or all your classifications after it. And so if there's one that you want to delete in that area, you would put tilde empty tilde and it will clear out that value for you. And I've done that before, so I know that one's legit. I haven't done the second one where you just like delete a whole entire key and that you use that tilde delete or delete key tilde. And that the link that I dropped in there has examples so you can see how to do it with yours. So so with the missing data, that's kind of my thought, is like maybe it just didn't get, that's where we wanted to talk a little bit more to understand like the missing data, because since you do have to be very specific about how you pull data out, like delete it. So that's the missing data piece. And then from precedence, this was really cool. And so we actually did some running. We have an Adobe Analytics sandbox, and that's what I'm presenting here in the workspace. And so to give you a little bit of background, so what was in the workspace is we had a classification was applied to this EVAR 83. So we had this EVAR 83. Let me scroll down and do it. Where did I put it? Oh, there we go. And so browse category ID. So browse category ID is EVAR 83, and it had a classification via the classification importer. So no classification builder was in place, just classification importer. And so when that was already set up and it had values. So the value that was there was bagged coffee. So they had quite a few pieces of metadata. I just picked one of them to change and I love coffee. So I went with the coffee. And so what we did is then we added a classification rule builder. So because that sounds like what's going on with this question is like, hey, we have both and how do they interact? So when it was just the classification rule builder, when it was just the classification importer, we had bagged coffee. So there we go. And so what was happening was anything that ended with category 3 had bagged coffee as that classification. What we did next is we created a classification rule builder saying, hey, anything that ends in category 3, override it with CRB, so classification rule builder. So clever, bagged coffee. And sure enough, as soon as we activated that rule, we had it look back for like 3 months. And oh, Sadar is not seeing my screen. I don't know. Let me see. I can stop sharing and try one more time. Let me see if that fixes it for you really fast. Stop sharing. Share screen. Looks like David can see it. So hopefully maybe just stopping and restarting. Can you guys see it again? Awesome. So we activated the classification rule builder and had the look back window be a couple months. I think you can only go back X amount of months. So we went back, I think, just like 2, because we were running this over the weekend. So we wanted to make sure the classifications all got done. So we tried to pick a shorter window. And as you see, everything from bagged coffee changed to CRB. So now we had both classifications in place. We had stuff that was uploaded through the importer, and we had classification rule builders in place. So both were in place. So we probably match what this person's question is like, because they're both in place now. And so then we sent in some fake data. And so here you see our fake data. Our office hours and classification, and like a true IT person, because I started off life as a developer, I misspelled classification, stuck an E at the end, but I left it there. I'm going to own up to it, going to live into it. And you see, we had the browse category ID. We sent EVAR 83, so it ends in category 3, and it gave us our CRB bagged coffee. Awesome, Sadar. I'm glad you can see. Awesome, thanks. Now, this is where it got really fun. So then, I went to upload a new classification, the old classification importer, because at first I was like, well, maybe it's like whatever classification I touched last. Like first was importer, so the importer rule showed. Then it was classification rule builder, so that one's showing. So I'm like, I'm going to re-upload just bagged coffee, because see if that was like whatever last one was touched is the winner. So I did. I uploaded it, and I actually uploaded it twice, because at first I thought, well, man, I must have messed up, because like on Saturday I uploaded it, the old just bagged coffee, And then when I looked at it Sunday morning, I'm like, well, did I not upload that right? Because it said CRB bag coffee still. And so I re-uploaded it. And this time I kept an eye on it. I'm like, oh, fool me once, And so I double checked to make sure I uploaded bag coffee, and I did. And what you see here is like, about 30 minutes into that upload, we start seeing the CRB bag coffee start changing over to bag coffee. I'm like, all right, that's what I expected. And then later Sunday, boom, I come back to look and everything's back to CRB bag coffee. I'm like, what happened? Like, we are chugging along just fine, going to what my importer was doing, but now I'm back to what my classification rule builder is doing. And so, and then so I'm like, okay, I'm going to download it. So I downloaded, I went to browser importer and did my browser export, and the value actually said CRB bag coffee, which was not what I uploaded. So it changed it on me. And so all of this goes perfectly into like this article that Adobe has. So here I'm going to put in the classification rule builder. And in this classification rule builder article, I can't type and talk, sorry. Oh, there you go. And I'll open it up here too so we can look at it. It talks about how classification rule builder will run. Let's see. All right, now I'm just going to search for 4 hours because I know that's what I'm looking for. Oh, there you go. So down here, it talks about active rules processing every 4 hours, re-examining the classification data, typically going back a month. And so I think that is definitely what's happened because we proved that out. We did an importer. We started seeing the data go what the importer said, which was just bag coffee. I waited 7 hours. I came back and looked, and the value that was there is now what was in our classification rule builder. And then when I actually downloaded the importer, it said CRB. So it changed the data, like truly behind the scenes. So when I did that export, it said, yeah, you're CRB bag coffee. So fun stuff. So on the precedence, the end of the day, it's going to say it's the classification rule builder because that one is looking like it's automatically running every 4 hours. Awesome. Let's see. I don't know if there's any questions or if that made sense or people are like, all right, that was a lot of classification for a Monday morning.
So then, Sarah, you're saying that it was basically last processed, and the fact that the classification rule builder automatically redoes everything every so often, and
yep.
There was a time period in which you uploaded the classifications. It was like that for a short amount of time, but then it was overridden by the continually automated classification. Yeah, because I don't think there's any way to set a true precedence for anything like that, right? Where you can say never update this product ID or anything like that. This is it. This is the one.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, maybe how I think about the two, because I can understand like why you have two in place, like the importer. Because the rule builder, I think, goes back 6 months. I'll have to go back and look that you can say apply this. And so sometimes you want to apply it maybe to more than 6 months of data. So you would do that importer to say, here's a big, and especially if you're doing something huge and, you're maybe pulling places, data from a lot of different metadata and it's not really conducive to the classification rule builder. So I can see why you probably have two of them in place. But yeah, like to your point, Jason, probably the importer, you've done it like, it's more of a one and done, trying to do like something bulk or with a lot of data, metadata versus where I've really used the classification rule builder is more like to pull stuff apart or very like kind of simplistic classifications. And so, yeah, I think just knowing that your classification rule builder, I think does run often, and to your point, then that does look like, since it's the last one to run, it will take precedence. And so if you are impacting, which you would probably be impacting, yeah, that's how it goes. So I think it's cool. And I would make sure that if you do have a conflict, so for this person, I'd say there's a couple different things, if you're missing your data, I don't know. I think just knowing that this is how it works will help them out. So that way they know how the importer and builder work together and can be beneficial.
And I think also be very aware when you're using classification rule builder. The way I use it is I put general rules in the rule builder and then specific bulk uploads, like Sarah said, in importer. the rule builder, just be aware of the order you're putting things in, because sometimes you're overwriting things within rule builder because you weren't paying attention to the order in which you put things in. So that also takes precedence, right? So the last one to run will be the one that overwrites everything. So you want to be very careful of that. I've run into that situation as well. So maybe think about the order in which you're putting things and think about how it runs, and see if there's an error there.
Awesome.
Yep. The next question: how can we configure our attention to be each user's local time zone instead of our report suite time zone? Or is that what the hour of day SDK dimension is for? Seems so by correlating the two. But if so, why are our hour of day SDK instances or any other metrics so much lower than the hour of day metrics and at all hours of the day?
If you want to keep sharing your screen there, Sarah, I'll speak to it, I suppose. So first off, and maybe someone can drop that link in there for the first one regarding the extension, excuse me, but the piece of custom code. To get time zone reporting at the user level or visitor level, the recommended approach is to install the Get Time Parting plugin within Adobe Analytics, within Adobe Launch. This can be either done through there's an Adobe Launch extension called Common Analytics Plugins. This should also be installed, or possible to be installed through the inclusion of that through that extension. That extension exists for legacy and even web SDK implementations of Adobe Analytics. Within that link that Sarah just dropped in there, or someone dropped in here.
Yep,
Thanks.
yep, it's there.
But basically what you can do is pass into the function the time zone that you want to be converted. And it won't really tell you that, if your business is Eastern Standard Time in the United States and someone visits on the West Coast, it won't tell you that they were Pacific Standard Time. It will translate their 8 a.m. visit to your site to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you won't see that unless that would take additional implementation effort, I think, to probably get their time zone in there. And I'm sure that's something you don't custom code, but it might be a little more challenging. Beyond that, the other two pieces here that you have in the workspace, the hour of day and hour of day SDK, both are essentially driven by the configuration in the admin console of Adobe Analytics. So it's whatever the report suite's time zone is locked or set to in the admin console for your company. The difference there being that the hour of day SDK is for mobile apps. Hence why it says SDK. Doesn't mean web SDK or anything like that in this case. It's just more a mobile app. And that would probably explain why, if you have mobile app traffic going into the same report suite as standard traffic, that's most likely the reason for the amount of the less occurrences in that reporting compared to the other, or why they don't match in general, depending on the distribution of your traffic between mobile apps specifically and the site. I think that's a pretty straightforward response. I don't know if anyone has any additional questions quickly to that in Slack, but
I don't see any.
Or any additional comments there.
Yeah, I do love it, Jason. Like you said, like by default, it will swap even the get time parting. But if you pass, like, so you see here this T, there's a T parameter, and that's the name of the time zone to convert the local time to. So it defaults to GMC or GMT. But like you said, you can do some searching to say, how do you figure out someone's time zone? Because you could potentially put time zone in there and pass it so it does stay in that person's time zone. And this would be another good one. If you're the person that asked this hour a day question.
Yeah, Jeff just posted a follow-up question in the chat. Actually, 70% of the traffic is mobile app versus web, yet 90% of the SDK instances are unspecified. I think that would just take some more investigation, between how many people are saying, don't track me, potentially, or
Yeah.
there's how the SDK itself is implemented might be partially the thing that I would look into there.
Well, and also, Jeff, is it like unspecified because you're including web traffic in there? Like, do you have everything in one report suite? Because that could be a reason why it says unspecified for one or the other, is because it's looking at all web, and you need to like back that out. You need to back out either the web data or the mobile app data. I don't know how you're set up, so it's hard to answer.
Jeff, did you happen to answer this question? Because if so, we can give you the ability to talk to us, because that would be awesome. Because I think another question. Yes. Okay. Oh, awesome. Oh, I'm so happy. We have a live one. Mandy's in the background. She's like our little Wizard of Oz. Mandy, can you give Jeff Wright access to chat with us? Because we also want to talk about, like, sounds like I want to hear more about the business, like, question that is being answered by having like potentially multiple time zones in like this one variable. So this is like an interesting question. So love to chat some more with you.
I have another idea while you're getting online, Jeff, about why you're still seeing 30% unspecified, even if you're looking at only mobile apps for that hour of day SDK. It might also be because, so I'm not sure how the SDK hour of day works, but if you're looking at track state versus track action, maybe if you're looking at occurrences, for example, your track actions are not setting the SDK hour of day, and therefore you're seeing a bunch of unspecified. But if you change that to visits, that would only be like track state, then you might get even lower unspecified. But again, it just depends how you're set up. So I'll be quiet and let you tell us.
Not sure I understand what Visis TD is.
I think he means visits.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, Jeff, I was saying, yeah, if you've never used this Bevy thing then that we're using for chat, when you granted access to the mic and or video, it'll force you to restart the whole meeting because
Oh, there's Jeff. I see his face. Oh, I see a circle with his face. Hopefully we're getting closer.
Hi, Jeff.
Oh, anticipation.
Oh, now it's on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we got you, Jeff.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, so I never use occurrences for the reason stated. I went to visits, and we have an unreliable segment that our web and app traffic go into the same report suite, but I have a segment, even so I can segment. We have 90% of our hits do tell us if it's app or web explicitly. So even then, I'm still getting unspecified. So I'm wondering, is there equivalent to that plug-in logic that we could just put into our code? Is there a way we can spoof, if you will, the time zone into the local time zone, or is that something that Adobe automatically captures?
You mean in a mobile app, right?
Yeah, basically doing what that launch plugin does for mobile.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, not that I'm aware. Like you said, that's there. Aside from having your app developers write that code themselves and do that on that end, that's part of the challenge, right? With a mobile app versus web, you can't just
Fair
write
enough.
JavaScript and drop it in a launch property, unfortunately. Right.
But it is possible. And then what variable are they setting? Because I thought it went off some sort of browser timestamp. Apparently not. That's actually explicitly pushed in the payload, the timestamp that we can hack it. Okay, it sounds like that's an issue. That might solve our problem, because we're Chipotle, so we have huge lunch and dinner rushes, and we need to know what's lunch or dinner at what time. It messes up all of our segments. We're looking for spike traffic, all sorts of issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could theoretically have them drop, in the implementation of the SDK, you could set a context variable to the timestamp and then possibly parse that in classifications, maybe, or I'm not sure if if there might already be a context variable out of the box for timestamp that you could just map to a variable. So I'm just not sure immediately offhand.
So is that something? There's a knowledge base article on context variable. I've heard that many times, and I'm not on the
yes.
implementation
I'm
side.
sure that there are. When you create anything in the SDK, mobile app wise, you're not really setting evars props or anything like that. You're setting a context variable that's
that's what it is.
Screen name. Yeah, screen name. And then somewhere in, I guess the way that it works now, you go into the admin console, into the processing rules, and you say screen name is evar1, and you do that mapping there. And
the challenge
name is
the challenge with
context
the evar1 is the evar is a string and not a time. So I really need to get it into whatever the time variable is. And I wish evars had a time type.
Yeah.
Okay, but so I'll see it. But you think there is a way to spoof the time, if you will, to convert it into the locals time, even if convert everything to Greenwich Mean Time or something, and then work it back.
The effort would probably be upon your developers to do that conversion, and however they.
Okay, but they set the context variable, and that would work. They could do it. Okay, we might be able to, because I believe the time zone gives you the difference from Greenwich Mean Time. So if it says like UTM -8 hours, that's West Coast, then it actually tells us what time zone they're in. So it sounds like it is possible. Okay. All right. I won't take any more time.
Instead of trying to modify like what Adobe is doing, I would have your developers set like a specific, just like a data layer, like a field, with the value that you want, or one or two values, and use processing rules to stick that into an evar. And then you can compare with Adobe, but I wouldn't try to modify Adobe's out of the box variable. I think you're going to struggle.
Well, the challenge
I would try to just do a custom thing.
evar is a string, so I can't say between 2 and 5 p.m. or between 5 and 7 p.m. local time.
Yeah, but like Jason said, you could set it and then use a classification rule. You could use classifications to make it into ranges, like 2 to 5, 12 to 2.
Some regex. Yeah.
Okay. There's reason. I'll have to have a lot of those classifications. That's all, because we have all sorts of weird timing issues with menu item availability and certain things, staffing levels, and we're really trying to use Adobe Analytics we're going to be pumping into the data layer all sorts of restaurant attributes that the user doesn't see, and then we want to correlate what impact that's having on conversion, because it's becoming clear it's big. So this is going all the way to the top, to the CEO. So this is why it's such a big importance for us, is to have confidence in this data. They want automated dashboards of this sort of stuff.
Yep.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for raising your hand. This was fun.
Yeah, I asked the classifications questions too, so this is awesome. I came in late, right when you were jumping in, so I was. This is fantastic.
Oh, awesome! Oh, great! Oh, I'm glad you got to hear it. Well, thanks for the questions in advance. Super appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, next question. How would you track non-cookie visits? And as more and more users are not accepting cookies, are there key traffic segments we could build to watch unidentified traffic?
Yeah, so on this one, once again, cookies, always a good topic at holidays, as long as there's no raisins. But I think on how to track non-cookie visits, I think there's a whole new industry rising up, like OneTrust and things like that, where it's all about privacy and consent. And within OneTrust, there is a report that will show you what percentage are opting in, opting out. So you could get a percentage from that point of view. And because we want to drop in a link. I know Frederick, I bet y'all read him. So he's also Champ, and he works at DHL. And they partnered with OneTrust, and I just dropped that link in the chat. And they talked about how they've done a lot of optimization around how they're asking people to opt in. And that article talks about it and how they've seen an increase in it. So the person asking this question, I forgot to ask, are you on the call? If so, please let us know in chat so we can chat, so we can get you, like Jeff, get you a mic. like this is the virtual way of running a mic over to someone. That way we can talk some more to you guys about it, or the person who asked the question. Because yeah, with track non-cookie visits, I would say OneTrust or maybe like your consent platform. That would be the place to maybe, I would say, to look first, and then to try to increase the number of people opting in, especially where your default is opt out. You know, like some sites in the US, it's opt in. So as even if I don't interact with the banner, if I just kind of scroll on the page or go to the next page, some people are like, oh, that counts as you saying okay, so that the rates are higher. But like, you know, in the app, I think like what Jason touched on earlier, I know I always say no, which I shouldn't probably as a data person. I don't know, as a data person, I can go both ways. I can make arguments on both sides. But like, you know, over in like Germany where Frederick is, it's the opposite. Like you're out until you're in. And so that's why the testing was so big and optimization on their part to try to make sure people understood, you know, so people are making a very informed decision. So I don't know if the person here is listening, and if so, drop in chat. Don't be, see, we had fun with Jeff. It was great. Don't be worried. It'll be fun if you're here. But any other things to add to that, you guys?
No, I mean, like you have in the screen share, I think like it depends on if Adobe Analytics is deemed essential, like especially in Europe, where you have like the cookie accept banner. Does your company deem it essential or not, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's, yeah, because with it being essential, even if people opt out, if it's still essential, then your analytics would still be tracking that person, even though they said no to the rest of the cookies. Yep.
Okay. Next question. What are the top SEO tracking segments you would recommend for Adobe Analytics?
I feel with being in analytics that we're a little bit of everything. Like we get, obviously we're analytics, but then we dabble with SEO because we work with them. We definitely are part of the QA team. I feel like I get to raise more bugs. I feel like I should be an honorary QA person sometimes. But yeah, this is definitely like some dabbling. Definitely would want to always talk to your SEO team. But I can talk, you guys can hop in if you want.
Yeah, my only comment there, Sarah, and
Yeah.
I only say this because it's not listed immediately in those things. It's just,
Yeah, you can add it.
you know, you know, you and I both did this for a long time. I remember the days of where you would have a tracking code for natural search that would come in and tell you the search engine and the keyword, and there's no longer,
Yeah.
even though the marketing channel report, if you go look at natural search there, it still says Google : unknown keyword. I don't know why unknown keyword's in there anymore, because it's been unknown keyword for like a decade. Probably
yes,
now,
it has
like
been.
so yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to, because they don't pass that information along in the referring URL anymore, or any other way for you to get the actual phrase that people are using for natural search anymore. That's the only other thing that I would kind of add to this bullet list. Unfortunately, you know that people are coming from an engine, and you know that they don't have a custom parameter that you may be added for paid search. That's about all you can get from what they were trying to do there when they arrived to your site, unfortunately.
I hear you. Yeah, that secure search is, oh my gosh, I'm going to say it, so I'll age myself. I remember when that happened.
Oh yeah, same here.
Thanks for being there with me. So yeah, the keyword, and it's not just Adobe Analytics, the keyword's not passed to any place. And so like some secondary things that you can look at are, you know, things that interact with SEO or page speed. So there in the chat, I'll drop these. So, you know, page speed, that's always something I hear the SEO teams talk about that I work with is, you know, the faster the page, the better you rank with Google. And probably being, I know the algorithms are always changing for organic and what is better and, you know, what helps you push to the top. But I feel like site speed, page speed is always one of them. So there is a plugin, that Get Page Load Time plugin that Adobe has, that once again, you can use the plugin. It's also just on the screen. It's on the window itself. I think it's performance. So if you look at the performance variable on your window, so all the browsers have that performance data. So you can either use it via the plugin, or, you know, make your own homegrown using the performance metrics that are already in your browser. That's one that I have seen a lot. And like Jason was talking about, while we don't get the keywords, like when you have your marketing channel set up, and even if you don't have marketing channel set up, there is like some paid and natural that Adobe will do on your behalf, as long as you have the, let me see here.
Can I just add one comment? And I tell this to everybody about like Ghostbusters, don't cross the streams. Like, don't drag your these dimensions into the marketing channel report. Like, don't drag referring URL from that stuff or natural search into the marketing channel report, or vice versa in Workspace. It just creates really weird breakdowns that aren't really designed to work together in such a manner. So if you're going to stick to that type of reporting, stay in it. If you're going to go with marketing channel report, stay in it, or at least be aware of the differences between the two, and that there is an issue possibly with trying to. It's like, drilling down from the last touch EVAR to a first touch EVAR to one that has merchandising or something enabled. They get really convoluted and complex the more you drill down into them. So that's just all I want to say on that real quick.
And even without messing with the attribution, like first touch, last touch, all that, just be aware that a lot of users in the same session will go from organic to paid to this to that, and will cross several channels. So as soon as you drag other things in, you'll start seeing those differences. You'll think that your data is unreliable when it's not. It gets very convoluted. So be careful when you're using visit segments as well, because you'll run into that problem a lot. This question is a bit vast though, because there's a lot of things to do with SEO. So we would need more information on, what problems you're running into.
I would add just a shout out to my media publisher people to make sure you're also segmenting between news.google.com versus Google search, because those are two different approaches when it comes to search optimization. So just understanding where the different segments or the different placements within all of these search engines, and keeping track of those as well.
Awesome. And Christel, you hit on something cool, which is number 3. And so I dropped that in the chat as well, is like what I hear people too with organic is how can I convert some of those to maybe direct? So you're not even going out on the search engine. So I don't accidentally lose you to somebody else. I want you to love us so much. You just come back direct. And just what you're talking about with that marketing channel, you can do a cross tab report to see how your organic traffic, like if I first entered as organic, how am I coming back? Just like you talked about. And hopefully you're coming back like direct. So you're now a loyal customer. And there's a really great YouTube video that Jen Lasser does on making that cross tab in Workspace. And so that's that YouTube link that's been dropped in. So yeah, and I did forget to ask that. The person who asked the SEO question, if you're here, type in chat that you're here so we can run the mic over to you. And then, the last one that I've seen, once again, just kind of talking high level. Oh, Rachel. Okay. Mandy, do you see Rachel? She's here. We're running the mic over to you, Rachel. And when we're running the mic over, kind of the last one is, when I think SEO, I always think people want to know, like, once again, like Jason said, the search term is not coming through, but you can see where they're landing on your site. So you can really look at entries and what kind of entries you're having from your, like, your content, like where are people coming in at. So that could help with the SEO team as well. Yeah, and usually there's a awesome. Maybe Rachel, it says like you hopefully should be able to. Oh, I start seeing you coming in. Awesome, Rachel. Awesome. Talk to us. Tell us what's going on.
Hi. Yes, I honestly, so I wasn't able to answer either. I asked the cookie question as well, so I just couldn't get on. I was, I was tag teaming in between meetings, but I could hear everything. So
no, I totally understand.
Yes, but I definitely, was just really curious on your tips with SEO because, it can go so many different directions, and we're really digging into, going from really looking at the metrics to more of a conversion kind of side of things. And it's kind of honing in on what the customer journey is and looking at those different things, because you really can do so many different breakdowns. And it's really where, you got the whole tree, and then you can also do the cherry picking, and it's really the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts, and trying to explain that to everybody else and looking at what is the biggest holes, what are the bigger holes do you explain to people? And the top 4, I do like the top 4 or top 5 that you guys picked, and those are the ones that definitely trying to highlight.
Awesome. Yeah, I do think, like you said, conversions. I love that you're tying it into a conversion. And if you do have, even if you don't have marketing channels set up, there, and if you do, that's awesome. But like, make sure you have that paid search detection set up. Yeah, because as soon as you're detecting it, because then a couple other reports in Adobe Analytics relies on that paid search detection, like knowing, hey, when you come from a known search engine, how can I know that you're paid versus natural? But being able to tie those into, and I think conversions, yeah, it can be anything. It can be like your email capture, your, like, I know purchase, like when you think conversion, like, making a purchase is something that everybody goes to, but I do think there's other things, like you can talk about watching a video, reading a blog, and it kind of goes into the engagement question that, has also been asked. And I think you can build into it. Like, so we're going to touch on engagement, but like, what are kind of like, at least they made it to the site. That's one step, but did they do like, are they kind of building up? Maybe they read 1 article or 2 articles, or maybe that's like entry level. And then the next level up would be, I watched a video. So it'll be fun to see what you're tying conversions to. So that's awesome.
Yes, my question is actually on engagement as well. So
awesome.
Yes.
Well, we'll hop down there really fast, and we'll come back up to pivot tables, since they are like very closely aligned.
Yes.
So yeah, once again, if you want to start talking, I'll drop some of these links if you want to kind of talk about your business question and what's going on.
Yes. So what's going on is that, we're always looking at, okay, so how the customer interacts with the pages, they're spending time on it, they're clicking, they're watching the videos, they're doing the, reading the documents, but is that truly interacting it? But each page of our website is different.
Yep.
So we're trying to figure out, how can we expand on engagement? What does engagement mean? And it's really, we no longer can measure it, because is it fair to measure the pages the same way? Because one might have more documents than the other. So trying to figure out what is a better way to make them more consistent. How can we measure those engagements? What are better ways to measure an engagement action?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Those are awesome. Let's see. So I put 3 links. So 3 things that we've stuck in here is all about the engagement scoring, and kind of like what you're talking about is, are all engagements created equal?
Right.
And I definitely think they're not, and that's okay. And it's okay to start and have like people just at your first level, because you need to start somewhere. And so with this engagement scoring, you can like talk about giving weight to different actions. And so what I've seen done in the past is definitely, I think it's kind of talking about, I can't remember which of these 2, either the top one or the bottom one. Both of these, the analytics power hour they're always just fun to listen to. And it throws it back. It's like their 16th one. And now like when you listen to it, I think they're on like 200 or 300. So it's also kind of fun to have a blast from the past. But the 2 demystified ones, they talk about, just picking a number. And so like your entry points would be all like 1. And then your next level will be 3, 5. I think I'm going to say it wrong. Like, I'm not even going to try. It's a scale out there. And I was actually in math for a while, so I'm probably have my math like license revoked that I can't say sushi. I can't even say it right. I'm going to blame my stuffed up nose. But like giving higher credit to like things that are closer and closer to like the end goal that you want. And I have seen that done in a different company, and it was a new way to look at it. So I think definitely share the articles that you find, start pulling people into it sooner to say, hey, this is what we're going to try out. Here's how we're kind of scoring things, and to help kind of get people kind of comfortable. I don't want to quite say buy-in, because I mean, everybody's wanting to do this, everybody wants to make the company better. And so it's just like getting comfortable with how we're scoring it, understanding like, hey, this isn't like final, like we'll score it. And if when we're looking at the data, if we're like, hey, that's not quite how we want it, we can, adjust it. So I think just starting out and just being comfortable. Maybe you start with a smaller circle that you get comfortable with and expand it out. But I did see it done in a different company, and it was new, and it did take some just getting accustomed to. But it made for some good conversations. So awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes. Thank you so much. This is definitely helpful.
Awesome. And then kind of along those same lines, like I kind of talked about, taxonomy for clicks. And that's something that I've done before too is, well, number one, we don't have to track all clicks. That's a number one. But number two, like once you start tracking them, sometimes just tracking on key things out the gate is fantastic. And then you can take it to the next level. Like you talked about on your page, there might be multiple things, but some things are tier 1 and some things are tier 2. And some things like they're just there on the page and will be nice and call them tier 3. And so I've seen people do taxonomy around the values that they're passing in those clicks. So when you click, it just doesn't say like the name of your link, which is a great place to start, but it can be more specific, like, hey, this was a tier 1 link, and it dealt in. So not only was it tier 1, but sometimes it's the type of content. So like they used AEM, and so you have different types of components. So they captured first what tier it was it tier 1, 2, or 3, and then what component, because then they could see like, hey, are some components getting more interactions than other components that we have? And then the third part of it was more open, because there's always something that you want to pass that's unique, maybe to that link. And so the third part was always open-ended. But that was another way that you could look at your clicks, like you're talking about, and try to group them by priority, like your priority, like what do you want people clicking on? And then kind of like what, like the component. That was a big thing at the companies, like, hey, we have all these different components, are some more engaging than others. So that's another thing that you could look at doing too. But awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rachel.
All right. Going back to that pivot table question, are there any works on capability to create pivot tables in Adobe Workspace in interface? By doing so, we would save considerable time manipulating data using spreadsheets, and we can spend more time on doing actual analysis.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So what I've posted in the chat is where you can put ideas. So we can definitely submit ideas. And if the person's on the call that put this, raise your hand, say in chat if it's you, so we can see you. And then we'll know to go help vote up your idea. Because the link I provided is where you can go and submit ideas to Adobe on, things to add or change. And then they'll actually interact with you in the comments, and you can have people vote it up. So yeah, if that's one of your guys's, let us know so we can all go support you.
We don't know of any way though, right? I definitely don't. You can get crafty with, segments and dimensions, and you can use the table builder option, but that's about, but to have like full pivot table capability in Workspace, not that I know.
Yeah. Awesome. And there's always Report Builder. I do love Report Builder. And I am a PC person, so if you're a Mac person, sorry. And so I know it's not an answer in Workspace, but at least with Report Builder, it'll send it to you and you'll have all the data, so you don't have to copy and paste. And then you can, even have it set up so it just refreshes your data sets or your data blocks. And so then you don't have to keep rebuilding everything. I know it's not what you wanted to hear, but definitely submit your idea. Let the networks know, post it on LinkedIn, say, go vote up my idea.
All right, next question. Is there a way to obtain all Workspace projects via API?
I'll speak to that in just a little bit, just because we chatted about it early on.
Do it.
Unfortunately, there's not a way to gather an entire existing workspace. However, the 2.0 version of all of the APIs, like Sarah said there in the chat there's an API for everything. And there is, but it doesn't, maybe not every specific little use case. But so the reporting API, it's not like the Firehose API. It doesn't give you raw hit level data about everything in real time. The reporting API allows you to recreate anything that you see in Workspace, essentially. So by that, you are limited to the same kind of number of drill downs. You have to define everything specifically. You can't I want the top 10 in the drill downs for things like that, for example. And you are going to have to recreate report by report for that workspace, as opposed to just, unfortunately, being able to pull in all of the API requests that are behind the scenes for an entire full workspace. You'd have to recreate that reportlet by reportlet, essentially.
Has the person who asked this question on? If so, we'd love to hear what you're planning to do with the API. Share your creativity with us. This is my creativity. I can't draw. I can't even draw a stick figure, but making data is my creativity. So yeah, let us know, and then we'll run the mic over to you so we can hear what you plan on doing. That'd be cool.
While we're waiting for that person, I'm going to toss out this question. Can Adobe be connected with Power BI?
So I answered that one in chat. Actually, I've been trying to keep up with a few in chat because I know we're pressed for time here, but Adobe has a partnership with Microsoft. There is a plugin directly in Power BI to where you can create a connection and pull anything from Adobe Analytics into Power BI. Yes.
You just need to give that user web services credentials in the admin console.
Good call. Yeah, you two have been busy in chat. Awesome.
Oh, Jason has.
Yeah, what have been some of the
I'm trying to.
You
It's
recap really fast what
snowballing
you
because
talked
now
about?
people are.
Did we answer the trigger emails question?
I don't think we did.
Okay, so the trigger emails question. Our trigger emails have stopped. What is the process of automated trigger emails?
Is that like alerts, or
I understanding?
I believe it's alerts. Yes.
Oh, that person's on.
I believe what happens is you create there's a trigger action that you can create within in analytics within Launch, for example, and that trigger action will send a call to Adobe Campaign, which then triggers an email or some kind of action, kind of like Journey Optimizer kind of situation. I'm not innately familiar with triggers and how they work in Campaign, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Adobe Campaign either. Sorry.
I'm trying to
figure there is an Experience League for probably that. So I would say check out Experience League because you can post, and now this is gonna be recorded, so I'll go down that I'm saying it. I think if you post it even on like the Adobe Analytics one, I think there's moderators that will help get it to the right board. So maybe even posting your question like, hey, I'm not sure what board to post this on. And I think that can help get it to the right place to get that answered.
Somebody did follow up. The BI connector is pretty slow and connections often break when loading a data set of 1.4 million.
Oof.
Can't say I have any experience with it, but I'm not sure.
Thanks for sharing that, Paula.
Awesome. A way that our work, well, this is more of an implementation specialist. I'm on the analytics side of things in my organization, but a way they've addressed the how the slowness of the BI connector is to store. So it just downloads data and puts it in storage, and then whoever works in the analytics side taps into that data warehouse, and that with Power BI and Adobe Analytics, that's the way for us to address that issue.
Very cool.
Okay. Let's see. So we have about 5 minutes left. I'm trying to make sure we've answered most of the questions.
I'm trying to keep up. There's still one that's kind of stumping me. If anybody wants to.
I'll jump on. What's the question?
So I'm going to try and summarize this quickly. So Zora, or unless you want to jump on as well, which might be nice. But
Andy, get Zora the mic.
That there's a number of
instance,
unspecified values for the direct marketing channel and paid search marketing channel when drilling down from that channel down to marketing channel detail. They should have page name as the tracking code, marketing channel detail. And there's a large number of unspecified. My initial thought was, well, it's you've got a server call that's like an s.tl call that doesn't have a page name on the first hit, so therefore you don't have an entry page. And Zora's saying this is because of entry page. However, Zora then says that this is on track action and track state somehow. I'm not really sure exactly, but those are mobile SDK things. And this is a report suite. Zora goes on to say, oh gosh, where am I at?
I think I saw a little bit of what you're saying.
Combination of app and web. So again, I would say, like I said earlier, make sure you segment out mobile app traffic in that thing, because the marketing channel report probably doesn't even functionally. I'm not even sure what it would really. I guess you could put some context variables in there to try and do something with that, but I've never really tried to do much with a marketing channel report from a mobile app, particularly. So.
And I was just saying in the chat, I don't think I articulated it very well, but you have s.t calls, which is like a page load on the web, and the equivalent in an app is track state. And so those pass the page dimension, but remember that for s.tl calls, which are like link events, like custom clicks, or the equivalent in the mobile app is track track action. Those two, even if you see the page name in your debugger, even if you pass page, it is not getting passed. So just be aware of that. So I don't know if that's the issue you're running into. I would probably bet that it's a segment issue, like Jason is saying.
And something I've done too, because like everything you're saying, spot on. So what I've done, instead of using page name, like the actual page.
Oh gosh, and sorry, I've said the wrong person's name. I'm just getting too confused here. This was
okay. I was getting confused.
Apologies for saying that, not Zora. So I'm just getting confused.
No problem. But I would definitely say, instead of using page, like I love putting page also into an EVAR for the same reason, like Jason and Christel said, like, because page, even though you see it on your s.tl call in the debugger, it's not captured in the UI. And so I always put it in the EVAR. And so if you have your page name in an EVAR, I like using that EVAR as my channel detail. And so that's another way you might want to, that's a really quick change that you might be able to try out really fast, and say, instead of using the pages, use your EVAR that holds the page name, because your EVAR will always hold it on s.t and s.tl.
So I do something very similar. Is we always set the page name in like s.tl calls, and so I have an EVAR that automatically copies the page name. So even though that page is not getting sent, the EVAR is getting sent. However, the issue I run into is then when users go into Workspace, they see page, they type page, they see page, and they see the out of the box page dimension, and they see the EVAR, and they get confused. And then if they use the EVAR, things don't work the same. Pathing doesn't work the same, because EVARs are made to, work with events. They don't act like the page. So I would recommend that you name that EVAR differently, so that people don't get confused and use that instead of page. Just a little note, but I ran into that for years. But I think that's a great thing. I automatically, my code automatically copies page name into an EVAR for these cases. So great tip, Sarah. Yeah.
So I believe we have a minute left, and there's a lot of things going on in chat. So just a couple of housekeeping things. We're gonna clean up all of the chat things and drop it into a blog post and upload it to Experience League. So if you want some of the answers and couldn't catch it on chat, we'll summarize those for you. And as I mentioned at the top of this session, the recording will be available. It's all going to be on the Analytics User Group YouTube channel. So if you missed part of it or had to jump off, we will have that for you soon. If you have any other questions, just drop in the chat and we'll try to address them after the session. But thank you so much for joining us. Jason, Sarah, Christel, thank you so much for your time. And we hope to see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Yeah.